Good morning. My name is Phil Hewitt, Group Arts Editor for Sussex Newspapers. It's lovely to be speaking to Sebastian, who is heading to the Minerva in a fascinating sounding play, 4,000 Miles, May the 4th to June the 10th. Now, one of the really interesting things is you're 21, but this is your first play for 8 years, did you say?
Yes, first play for 8 years. I guess first play as a young adult and not as a kid.
Yeah. And that last one you were saying was King John. That must have been quite something.
Yes, it was King John, which was directed by Trevor Nunn, and I played Prince Arthur, who is only in a few scenes, but I found a really interesting character. In one of the scenes, he's sort of pleading for his life, and I don't think Shakespeare ever finished the play completely, but he had a son called Hamnet who died at around, I think, 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And that's the age of this kid character. And he wrote, or this character, Prince Arthur, and he wrote the play soon after his son died.
Wow.
I think there was a lot of parallel there when he was talking about this kid, pleading for his life. And I just found it a really beautiful thing. I don't know. I found Shakespeare quite difficult when I was learning about it in school because I was very dyslexic and it was taught as quite an academic, this is what it is. It's words and it's clever, like syntax. And actually, as soon as I started performing it and getting to grips with it as an actor, it was just suddenly this beautiful poetry about life and about love and death. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And
now 8 years later, you're coming into a play which you tried and failed to see just before the pandemic,
yes.
Which is ironic, isn't it? You didn't get to see it because of COVID, and now you're in it.
I know. Funny how things work out. And actually, the age gap is something that's explored in the play. And obviously, Eileen is 87 and I'm 21, which is quite
Dame Eileen Atkins, we should say, shouldn't we?
Yeah, Dame Eileen Atkins, full title always. And which is similar to the age gap of our characters, and I think is something that's really interesting in the play is that generational gap between kind of grandparent and grandson. And also they're both lefties, which I think is an interesting take rather than it being kind of an old conservative and a young liberal. It's these two people who were liberals in different eras, and that means different things. And
so there is that bond there, isn't there?
Yeah,
and you're saying that Dame Eileen is lovely and warm and generous to work with. Which must make your job a little easier.
She's so delightful and has been so just welcoming and kind and generous to all of us who are coming in and are in awe / terrified of the greatness that is in the room. And there's her and Sir Richard Eyre are both just very, very kind and just make it very easy to work with them. And
so for your first theatre in 8 years, you've come back to a really lovely, warm, supportive environment, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And also just an amazing room to be like, I'd pay to be a fly on the wall in the room just to hear them talking about the stories and the people they've worked with. I mean, it's they're both incredible. So I feel very
fantastic.
lucky.
And of course, in between times, since you tried to see this play and failed to see this play just before COVID, and now that you're actually in it, you have had fabulous Netflix success, haven't you? In a massive series.
In Heartstopper.
Yeah.
The most amazing gift and a wonderful show that feels important and important to me and important to everyone who's part of telling it. But also, I've just met some incredible human beings through it, and it's like
what makes it an important story, would you say? Why is it important?
I think it's important because it's really new to have a story of queer love that is so simple and uplifting and optimistic and sweet, and I think reflects how a lot of people wish their years at school had been, and reflects a kind of a light at the end of the tunnel of how it sort of should be, you know, like we should all be able to have joy and feel supported and loved regardless of who we are, and unfortunately that's still quite a radical thing to see on our screens, so I think it still is an important show.
And with fantastic timing, just before you start your stint in Chichester in the Minerva in this play, the second series, well, the dates for the second series have been announced, haven't they, for this summer?
Yes, the August 3rd. And I'm very, very excited.
And so you should be. But will you be watching? Can you bear to watch yourself on screen?
Well, the character I play, I despise quite greatly. He's not a nice character, not a nice person. So I enjoy watching it because I love the show and I love the story, but I want to punch my own face on the screen. So
that's quite something to say.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, do try not to. Fantastic.
Yeah, I will.
Well, so lovely to speak to you. Thank you ever so much for your time. And
Thank you so much.
Really, really happy stay.
I promise to try and do a bit of running, like
a little place, a little trot somewhere in Chichester. It's the ideal place to start. You'll love it. The perfect de-stressor for the acting, I'm sure.
Okay,
great to speak to you.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.